Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. Now, I'm just trying to find this in my notes, but I think we had Glenn Beck this week expatiating through history about which he knows nothing, but talking about, I think we were talking about Colonel House and the Woodrow Wilson gang, and making some obvious points against them, right? Their evil was well known, not discovered by Glenn Beck. But Glenn Beck says that conspiracy theories are planted by the ruling class, I guess, and that the one of the conspiracy theories that was that the Hillary Clinton camp started the story that Obama was not born in the United States, but rather born in Kenya, and Glenn Beck assures us that Obama was born in the United States, born in the USA, and that rather what this was a desire to be able to discredit people by calling them crazy if they didn't believe that Obama was born in the U.S. That's a little bit convoluted, but that's Glenn Beck. So in order to get the antidote, let's go to Phil Berg in Philadelphia, who's organizing that big march on October 23rd. Welcome, Phil.
My pleasure. Yes, we're having October 23rd. Everyone out there, please come to Washington, D.C., the west front of the United States Capitol. We're going to have a massive rally dealing with the Obama birth certificate, the eligibility issue, and Obamacare, the health care, which is definitely unconstitutional. And I really believe, since the courts have taken their good old time and really thrown our cases out, some breaking news, Webster, the U.S. The Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia has just affirmed the lower court so they would not hear my appeal. I asked for a court en banc on the issue of a case where I filed under the False Claims Act, alleging that Obama is not only natural born, he's not naturalized, but he's an illegal alien, and is therefore, believe it or not, his term as a United States Senator from Illinois was fraud. We raised the issue of conflict of interest, and I probably spoke about it before. If that case doesn't have conflict of interest, we should take those words out of the legal dictionary and take them out of the Code of Federal Regulations, because the decision on those type cases is made by the Department of Justice, U.S. Department of Justice, and the U.S. Attorney General's Office, both of which are headed by Attorney General Eric Holder, who conflict of interest because, number one, he was a senior member of the campaign staff. Number two, he was one of three individuals selected by Obama to select the vice president, who then selected Vice President Joe Biden, who became vice president. And number three, he was nominated and confirmed as the Attorney General, highest law enforcement officer in the country, who reports to the president. So if that's not a conflict of interest, I'll eat as many hats as we can put in front of me. But we're going to take that case and we're going to take it up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Hopefully they'll hear it. The issue of standing doesn't go in that case, and standing is significant because in all our other cases, the courts threw it out saying no one had standing to sue over the Constitution. But under False Claims Act cases, which I filed as what's called a relator, the Supreme Court has already stated in that type case, the person bringing the case has standing. So the rally is because while the courts have not given justice to the people of this country, I believe that if we can get as many people as possible to Washington, D.C., I would like to see the largest march in Washington, D.C. history. Within 3 hours drive time of Washington, there's got to be 20, 30 million people. We need like 2 million people in Washington. Bring a copy of your birth certificate, and we're going to show our birth certificates, and then we're going to all lift them high, and then we're going to demand that Obama show us that he's constitutionally eligible to be president. And that's twofold. One, his long-form vault birth certificate from Hawaii, which I'm sure does not exist, because he was born in Africa. He was born in Mombasa, Africa, which is now Kenya, Africa. And the other thing, show us documentation that when you came back from Indonesia after being adopted or acknowledged, that you became at least a naturalized citizen. To still show that you're natural born. There's no way he has any documentation to show he was natural born, and he's already spent way over $1.6 million fighting my 3 lawsuits and the 100 other lawsuits that came about. You don't spend that kind of money if you have nothing to hide. So we're hoping everyone, when the show is over, please go to my website, which is obamacrimes.com, OBAMACRIMES.com, obamacrimes.com. And there, read it, send it to everybody on your address book, and ask them to send it on. We really need the people there. I think if the large number of people come out, which I think should, because remember, the documentation he has shown, which is a certification of live birth, you can't even get, you can't register your child for Little League or get a passport with that document. Obama is a phony, a fraud, an imposter. This is the biggest hoax against our country in 234 years. And Obama should be ashamed of himself. When all is said and done, Obama, Michelle Obama, Howard Dean, the former head of the Democratic National Committee, others, senior members of the campaign staff, and now senior members of the administration of Obama should all be subjected to the criminal justice system and tried, and those convicted should go to jail. I mean, this really is unbelievable. Obama has not shown. He's arrogant. What other president of the United States has gone around the world apologizing for the acts of the United States? What other president? None. What other president has gone and bowed to the Saudi king? What other president has bowed to the Japanese empire? What other president has bowed down to the leader of China? None. None. It's an absolute total disgrace. And I am doing everything in my power. This is now my 26th month to keep pursuing this because I really believe that it's an injustice to all of us out there. I'm doing this for the 308 million people in this country who deserve to know the truth. I'm doing this also for our forefathers, and I'm doing this for the 1.6 million men and women who have died defending our Constitution in the various wars, and another 1.6 million who have been wounded or injured fighting to defend our Constitution, and the millions of other individuals who have in the past and continue to serve in our military protecting this Constitution. The best example I can give people who are questioning this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger, for years people have asked him to run for president, and what does he say? He says, amend the Constitution. Amend the Constitution. I was born in Austria. Obama doesn't say anything. He's basically walking all over the Constitution, and we have to stop this because we're the laughing stock of the world. So please go to obamacrimes.com. Please join me on Saturday, October 23rd from noon to 4 p.m. at the west side of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. We deserve the truth.
Phil, we have the new book by Bob Woodward, right? The Watergate figure, longtime Washington Post writer, and this is now the inside of Obama's wars. And I would stress the issue of the continuing Afghanistan war, which is going to bring out, I think, a somewhat different class of person, more and more opposing Obama. That he is a warmonger, and that you can see he does this in a very cynical way, because in this book by Bob Woodward, he tells somebody in the White House, look, I'm going to give you until July of 2011, because I'm going to do that for political reasons, but I don't want to continue it beyond that because I'll lose the entire Democratic Party. And I think it's really time for him to lose the Democratic Party, and I think that as we get into the autumn now, October, November, and after the election, likely that Obama's people will do rather poorly in the election, you're going to get the question of dumping Obama for new reasons, and it was not the right-wing reasons, but now the union busting, the warmongering, the being a puppet of Wall Street, and that this Woodward thing gives new insights. I recommend it to you.
I will do that, and the umbrella, I'm reaching out to everybody here, everyone who can join with us in this effort.
Okay, we'll see you next week, Bill.
Thanks.
ObamaCrimes.com. We'll be back in a minute.